All right. I'm pretty sure people can hear us.
Let's hope so. Let's hope so.
Good evening, everyone. My my audio setup is considerably different, which was some part of why it took a little extra time to get the stream up. Does everything sound okay so far? Hear me, hear Duke?
I mean, I'm listening to the stream audio like in an echo just to check it, and it sounded fine to me, but I'm also a little biased, Try. I mean, I can give you that opinion.
So Coury is not with us. He is ill, is my understanding.
I mean, I think that people knew that I wasn't Coury because it's a little too much going on up here.
Also, that I don't know if it's a trick of perspective, but that Dragon Quest slime you got back there looks large.
It's a pretty big one.
That is larger than the one I have.
That was a gift from your friend and mine. It's a dog in game.
Oh.
He was kind enough to send me that and a Drakey, which you might be able to see hanging over there.
Oh yeah! Wow.
But
I didn't see, like you were hiding the slime stack.
Yeah, I didn't realize it'd be quite that crazy different, but yeah, he's like, well, what kind of stuff do you have? And I'm like, I don't really have a whole lot. I got like a big slime tower though. He's like, all right, I'm going to send you something to go with it. And I didn't know what to expect. And then a month later, this thing from Japan came with the slime and the Drakey, and I was like, dude, this is amazing. Because I've always wanted I've got you might be able to see on the shelf up there, kind of out of frame, a little ceramic slime I bought at MagFest.
Oh, okay.
That was the only guy I had other than the slime tower. So Dog corrected that for me.
Nice. Yeah, we all know you are quite the Dragon Quest fan, which aren't we all?
Oh, everybody should be. I mean, it's law. I mean.
So I don't think, I want to say that the last time you were on our stream, something has changed. You are now an RGB boy.
I am, because being friends with you jerks long enough has made me spend way too much money. I think the last time I was on, I had just gotten the Framemeister, and I only had a Genesis. Since then, I managed to get a PVM from work, 2 PVMs, one of which is now in Coury's loving hands.
Which he was like beyond excited about.
Yes.
He was itching to get that picked up.
Yes, and hopefully he can get it cleaned up and stuff. So the story for everybody, to bore you with the details, I work in a TV station, and the chief engineer was kind enough to, after me asking him a lot for the past 4 weeks, let me have these 2 decommissioned Sony PVM 14L5s. And each one has a different kind of issue. Mine, the colors are weirdly out of, they're not saturated right to me, and I've done all the settings, I've done everything I can, and I can live with it. And it's a little off-center, so I have to mess with the geometry a little bit. I ran the 240p test suite again, I had to figure out how to put it on my Wii because of these guys. Got that going, and that's okay. The one that Coury has, both of these have a little bit of burn-in. Mine's in the bottom right corner, Coury's is on the top left. These were old security monitors.
But you don't see it that much when you see a screen full of color and stuff, right?
Right. Yeah. Oh, yeah. The only time I've really noticed is when they're off or on the the memory card screen of the PS2.
Mm.
So, but Coury's is interesting, where the 480p content over component, and I think he confirmed it does the same with RGB. It's like a wavy line on the sides, and it's not the geometry. It's like a sync issue or something. So Coury and I had a pretty long little chat with your friend and mine, Lord Voltar. He was unable to diagnose it over the internet. So I believe Coury, he's mentioned he's going to try swapping the screens with something, and he may be moseying on down to Voltar's home.
Yeah, I didn't quite understand all those screen ideas he had with that thing. But yeah,
neither did I, and I was looking at it the whole time. Voltar was like, do this. And I'm like, oh, I don't know what that is, but I'm doing it.
But yeah, the 14L5 is like the smaller brother of the 20L5, which both me and Coury have, which now
I want. Now that I've got the one, now I'm like, oh man, it could be bigger.
You got one PVM, it won't be your last. That's just how these things go.
It's a well, yeah.
I
thought it'd be fine with emulating all my freaking games until you saw my retro pie and were like, "Oh no, man, those Dragon Warrior tiles just aren't scrolling right. The shimmerings bothered me." I'm like, next thing I knew, 2 months later, I'm ordering a FrameMeister.
It's dangerous. It's dangerous. But we're happy to have you aboard. Well, I just spent my weekend doing something that I probably should have done like at least a month or longer ago, which was finish rewiring a lot of my analog stuff, particularly regarding what's going through my Extron box. Which I learned not long ago, something kind of worrying about the Extrons, which I wish we had known when we had put in the episode. And then we talked to other people, and they're like, oh, yeah, that's a thing. I knew about that. And I'm like, well, why did no one tell us this so that we could include in our Switchers episode? Which is that Extron crosspoints, or at least a lot of them, maybe most of them, I think some of them don't, but most of them do this thing where they output this. They take whatever the sync is and they output it as something called TTL sync, which I have no idea what that stands for.
Yeah, that's new for me.
But it's like a high voltage sort of sync, which, you know, it's okay to put into a PVM, but you aren't really supposed to put into a consumer electronic like a FrameMeister or even an OSSC
or my cheap Hisense TV
or your cheap Hisense TV if it was a European TV and had a SCART connector.
I think this has been the funniest thing about all of this. I graduated college by the time I owned a high definition television. I was fine with the CRT for a while, so I appreciate the look and everything of them. But the cheapest thing I have in my retro gaming setup is my television. It's like $120 for a cheap 40-inch TV. Like, that amazingly does take a lot of nonsense I throw at it.
Yeah. I mean, then
it's like, you just got a brand new, like, 4K OLED, and I'm like, Try's going to make me get another credit card.
It's so funny because it's like, I think back to how me and Coury were like so nervous about buying the FrameMeister. We're like, oh, that's a lot of money. And now it seems like nothing compared to over the years, which, to be fair, I feel like we put more money into it than most people would or should, because we do a show about it and we're like, well, this would be an interesting example, or we should show this, or we should show that, or, you know, stuff like that. You know, I bought a few cables that I don't really need because it's like, well, I need to show this in the PS2 episode, or I need to show this in the 4K TV episode, you know.
I'm working on a project now that has had me going eBay crazy. And it's like, wow, this is going to be great for 10 seconds of a video. It's going to cost me like $100 to make, and you know, but it'll be fun. And I've got that collector's bug now, as Coury says.
But yeah, the Extron output. So I've been using was really a PVM output cable, BNC to SCART, originally intended to go in the FrameMeister. Now I want to put it in the OSSC because I've got a different setup for the FrameMeister. But before I get that fully hooked up, I'm saying it to someone to do something that I should really learn to do myself, but I'm not ready to, just to install a resistor on the sync line so that it's outputting a safe level for the OSSC. And then I'm fully set up. But otherwise, everything's set up. I'm really happy with how relatively clean and organized it's all going. And because of this, I finally got my access to my component systems again. I've been able to play RGB systems and HDMI systems, but I did not have my component systems fully hooked up. So I thought, I want to play a game on a component system tonight.
I'd need to get me that 480 penis back. That sounded very bad, and that's not what I intended. 480p. Goodness. Let's just leave it at that.
I didn't catch that, but I feel like I've been...
it was on the tip of my tongue. It was like, oh crap. So, but in all honesty, the Triforce has its Triforce back. I mean, you have all three, you know, kind of ways to best play your games.
Yeah, it is really funny how there really are no systems hooked up anymore, composite or or S-Video. I've got a composite line connected to my PS3, which I can use if needed, because the PS3 is a really good video playback machine, and so the only reason I have that is if I wanted to play something, record something to a VHS tape.
That's a good idea. I was going to say, like, why don't you just use a Chromecast? And it's like, well, that's only HDMI, so you'd have to, if you wanted to put it on your PVMs or something, you have to do something funky to it.
So anyway, yeah. So I thought, well, I haven't beaten Mega Man Network Transmission or even really played it, so I thought this is the game before we started where I said you're either going to really like this game or be amazingly ambivalent. I didn't beat this game as a child, as a young Duke, but it has a certain coolness to it, as you mentioned. It's an interesting look at post '90s Mega Man. Yeah. I mean, as far as like 2D Mega Man games go, like this looks like a pretty decent one. So let's find out.
It's interesting because I like the Battle Network games a lot. Though Gerard the Completionist did a review of the first one I guess on Friday.
Oh, really?
And or maybe it was last week. It takes me a while sometimes to catch up with some good old YouTube. And I was like, wow, he's right. This game kind of is like a grind fest and sometimes really boring.
Yeah, I played the original Mega Man Battle Network this summer, and it was the first half of the game I thought was pretty good, but like the second half of the game, the dungeons are like really obtuse.
Yeah.
And just not fun at all. But it's like, it's like the dialogue and translation is like very bad to the point where it's kind of charming. Like, it's very much a kid's game, but it felt like a strong foundation. Like, the battle system I thought was really good.
Right.
The story was pretty stupid.
It's actually, the stories. How many times can the World Wide Web take over the World Wide Web? Dr. Wily is great, I think, as a villain in most of these games. I mean, he finally seems like somebody who's dangerous. But how many times can Lan or whatever just, hang out in his room and be like, I'm going to school and saving the world? I mean, I forget how many games, whether like 5 or 6 Mega Man Battle Networks
I think
games.
that's right.
But then they split them into it's like Pokemon all of a sudden. It's like I think I quit playing after the third one. I think Mega Man Battle Network 3, I think it's white, was one of the colors. I have one of them, and that was the last one I beat.
Yeah, I talked to
Peace
people.
rules, Mega Man. You're such a.
I talked to a few people, and I got the impression that 2 does some good improvements on 1, and like 3 is like the pinnacle. And then I think 4 was considered bad, and then like 5 or 6 was like, yeah, you can take it or leave it. So it sounds like it's worth playing at least up to 3. So I might look into some of the others.
I would agree with that. I think they're interesting just because they were consistently interesting Game Boy Advance games that were actiony and still an RPG. And the Game Boy Advance has a really good library of that kind of content, I think.
I'll tell you what, though, the Game Boy Advance, if you're like in a retro shop or at a convention, like, it's the most soul-sucking chore to go through the Game Boy Advance games, because I feel like there is a larger, like, Game Boy Advance has a great library, no doubt, but I feel like there is a larger percentage of just crap on the Game Boy Advance than like almost anything else, and like, you're not likely to just go through a bin of Game Boy Advance games and find a gem. Like, it's
true.
It's going to be, behind the counter.
Yes, or it's going to be in a separate thing where it's not all of a sudden buy 5, get them for, $3 or whatever, like the rest of the crap bin is or whatever. I was at a flea market this morning in my town, and there was a guy selling a bunch of PS2, PS1, and Game Boy Advance games. And I knew after going through the PS2 games, like, I shouldn't even bother going through the Game Boy Advance games because they're all probably going to be sports titles. I was wrong. They were all Nickelodeon titles.
Yes, that's which, to be fair, I mean, you know what? Maybe
There were
some of them are
some
really
good
good
ones.
games, and I just don't know because I'm just being biased or something.
Yeah, you got to quit judging a Game Boy Advance game
Based on its
by the label, or
Nickelodeonness.
by the fact that it's a shovelware, sometimes platform. That being said, I did play through Golden Sun again, and I'm like, this game is so long, but I love it.
Yeah,
it's been my Game Boy Advance goodness, because I think it was a couple months ago I got that AGS 101, and man, that's beautiful. But now I want a backlit regular Game Boy Advance because my giant adult hands or whatever just like carpal tunnel up playing the SP.
yeah,
It's so small.
It takes some getting used to when you go back to it.
So we should probably remind everybody who's just tuning in that I am not Coury. Coury is attending to numero uno himself. A little under the weather, I believe.
Yeah, that's my understanding. He said he was like a little bit before the stream. He just said he'd been asleep all day.
Hey, I mean, sometimes you got to do that. I mean, it's Labor Day weekend. I think Coury's just clocking out for the night. So what do you think of this riveting story?
Yeah, it's very exciting. By the way, I feel like they could have come up with a better name than PET for the programs that everyone has.
Yeah, you don't ever want to say the word "open your pet" on the street. Just open your pet and select map. What is that man saying? Also, I remember being, in like late middle school and sitting on the floor, kicking my legs back and forth, playing Game Boy like a freaking child.
But by the way, I'm hoping that I've made the right choice in playing this with the Hori pad. I mean, the only reason that this shouldn't work in theory is if there's like some sort of like analog stick required or C stick required. But
I haven't played this game in like 15 years. I don't think there's a C stick function though.
Yeah, so I mean, for this kind of game, the Hori pad seems the right choice.
Yeah. Which that's something you guys aren't tricking me into spending money on, because I'm not spending $200 some on. Oh, where's my credit card? I want one of those things.
The Hori pad is like one of my favorite controllers of all time.
Yeah, I mean I saw one not this past too many games we were at, but the one before that, and,
here's the control method.
it was neat.
Look how simple this is.
I like it. Look, it's even got a D-pad in the icon. Like, it's perfect.
It's got a button for stand. I can't figure out.
It's interesting to me that it doesn't tell you how do you move, and there's probably somebody out there that returned this game like, I didn't know how to move the character. The controls didn't tell me.
Okay, so how do
Adams A says instead of using the Hori pad, you should just get this RAFnet SNES adapter for the GameCube, and then I could use my one of several now 8-bit DOE controllers, which is intriguing because I really like their Super Nintendo wireless controller.
Yeah, I don't know anything about how customizable that is. I remember at least some time back someone was talking about having customization issues. Also, what button do I press to like do something?
Didn't you just check the control methods?
I mean,
I think you have to go to. I think you have to go to
I go
compute.
map maybe. Maybe I go map.
Select Jack. Yeah.
I feel like
instead of the great Mega Man Battle Network games where you could actually visit the town, Mega Man Network Transmission streamlines the process with a stage select system. I always hate it when those kinds of things come up in these kind of games. Like I want to explore the world.
Yeah, I mean, but to be fair, I just finished exploring this world a few months ago on the Game Boy Advance, and I'm actually kind of looking forward to just something that might be a little more straightforward platforming.
I can see that. I can see that. There's been a little chat in the chat about GC video and all that kind of stuff. How are you actually hooking up old network transmission here? Are you using GC video or are you using the Wii?
No, this is, I mean,
Or your legitimate GameCube component
I've got my legitimate GameCube component cables, I mean, that I've had since you could buy them from Nintendo. What can I say? Yeah, this is okay, this is a little complicated. You want to know the full setup here. This is going...
Give us the schematic.
It's going from the GameCube to a G-Comp switch, from the G-Comp switch to the Extron, out of the Extron to the FrameMeister, which you could also at that point, once I finish...
You're like $800 right now.
Once I get things set back up correctly, that will also be able to go to the OSSC and 2 PVMs. But for right now, it's just going GameCube, G-Comp, Extron, which the Extron is kind of being the distributing system. The G-Comp is just kind of being the auto-switching system. Extron to FrameMeister, FrameMeister to HDMI switcher to HDMI splitter to capture card to another HDMI splitter to TV.
So all this will be explained in detail on the next My Life in Gaming setup tour video. I mean, it looks great. I mean, like that was my always thing with the interlacing, because I've been playing a lot of PS2 games lately, and like Innocent Life being one of them, which is a Harvest Moon game, and the flicker of the interlacing on the text was like all of a sudden like really noticeable to me. And then you look at something like this in 480p, and it's like, man, that's crisp. It looks good.
Yeah, and any noise you see, I think, is probably more an element of the FrameMeister than anything.
Yeah, that's definitely something I've noticed with mine, is like deep colors, like any dark colors, just wavy.
Yeah, you can see a little, like, in that large blue area, like under those little stat icons. You can see a little there. But I'll be curious once I get the OSSC properly hooked up, to compare, because... the OSSC is absolutely less noisy, but I need to leave the FrameMeister hooked up, in part for convenience of use, and also just because I do a show about this stuff, and so I need to compare multiple different things.
Microsoft better needs to hire you guys or something. Like, what can we do better next time?
So these are very much like the same sorts of chips that were in the Game Boy game.
Yeah, it's interesting considering there's artwork of how it needs to have 3 panels to be effective, but this is a 2D game. It's not a 3-panel. It's not the same type of game. It's interesting because they managed to do the V cannon's going to split up and down, I believe, instead of side to side, of course, because there is no side to side. Instead of getting boss powers, basically, you just do the same thing you did. You have to wait for new powers. And it's interesting,
so
I
are they limited use, or...?
Yeah, I believe you can only use them up to a certain amount of time. So if you... Yeah,
so when that custom bar fills, I can probably
you'll get new battle
my
chips.
chips.
Yep, you'll get new chips, just like the Game Boy Advance game. So what are the name of the... little dudes with the helmets? Are they Metools, Metars, Mets? Because I believe they were called Metools in the Game Boy Advance game, and now they're calling them Metars. Or are they different?
Did they? I wasn't really paying that close attention to the dialogue.
It was MTT.
I mean, the spelling is METOOL. That I've always known, but the real question to me is: it Metool or
metal?
Metool or Metool?
Like I met a tool. Yeah, yeah. See, I met a tool. He had a pickaxe and a little helmet. Lan, do you understand how to use chips? I know we've already saved the world 3 times by now. It's always great when you play a sequel and it's like, do you remember how to play?
This game, I believe, is supposed to take place between the first and second.
I believe you're correct. I don't know if they came out that way, but I believe that is the canon.
Yeah. That
really legitimate, strict Mega Man canon. Which I believe is a true statement. I believe it is very strict.
Oh, I got a shotgun.
I hate it when my Norton security cube stops my level progression.
That burner attack doesn't seem to do anything, not at least when I'm jumping.
I believe it's like a ground attack.
Wow, that buster shot seems real weak.
Can you have more than 3 on the screen, you think?
I don't know.
I mean, the buster in Battle Network is the weakest thing until you power it up.
But it gets really good, and like, I mean, you know, you're going to waste a lot of time if you aren't using it during battle. Like, you do need to use it, but it is weak.
Hmm.
I feel like I might not be able to have like more than 1 on screen. Like
a little slow.
Maybe like 1 and a little bit more.
Yeah, the comment in the chat is the Mega Buster in this game is, as Johnny said, which I think might be some Call Me Johnny might have reviewed this game. The Mega Buster and NT Mega Blows. And if I'm thinking of a different Johnny, maybe let me know. So somebody finished this game without a memory card, which is hats off. I mean, that's impressive. This is a pretty long game, I think, too.
Wait, so now that I decide to choose new chip data, like, am I forced? It looks like I'm forced to choose these.
You have to, yeah. You have to sign up a new allotment. But I could have just
continued using what I had if I wanted.
That's true, but how would you have known if you could have got something new unless you changed it?
Yeah, but now I kind of wanted to stick with what I had because I had a lot of use for it.
But I mean, I can't remember if you can re-get those chips or they're just out of your like deck.
Yeah, like I wasn't. Yeah, maybe they just shifted out of my deck for now.
I can't remember how this part of it works. I never actually owned this game. I rented it back when you could do that. I don't know if that shows how old I am or not. And I got about halfway through it. I think it was like 4 or 5 dungeons, I think, or levels or whatever they were in my little 3-day weekend from Family Video.
I actually went to a Family Video like
they're still around.
A week or so ago. Yeah, I just it's always been here, and I like finally one day was like, I'm gonna stop in there.
I'm gonna rent me a movie.
I didn't rent anything, but it was it was. I thought I bought. I mean, it was actually a pretty nice store, but
I always hate it when I go into somewhere and I look around and I like don't buy, like there's nothing I want to buy, and I'm like, oh man, I feel really rude, but like
especially going to a place like a video store where they probably don't get a lot of business anyway.
Right? They're like, hi man, were you looking for anything? I'm like, oh no, I'm just kind of seeing what pops out at me, and then nothing pops out at you, and it's like, oh man, like I don't want to spend $40 on Wild Arms 3 when I know it's a $10 game, so no, I'm not. Jump. So how does it feel with the D-pad on the Hori pad? Is this meeting your expectations?
Pretty solid on the Hori pad. It seems to control decently enough.
Is it pixel perfect platforming perfection?
Ah.
Anybody? That was when I worked for Classic Game Room. That was how I introduced Mega Man 7, talking about the Mega Man legacy, and that's when people. That's when I knew Duke really likes alliteration. And I think in almost all of my videos, there's like some point where I try to do something. Bladebird wants to know what he should play for his birthday, and I don't know. Is there any birthday games out there that aren't like ROM hacks? Like Zelda's birthday's fun. That's a ROM hack of Ocarina of Time. That's a pretty cool game. I don't know if you've had any experience with the old N64 ROM hacks, Try, but they're an interesting bunch. But what people do with
I've tried one or two, 64, but I'm not well versed in them.
Yeah, Zelda's birthday is a ROM hack of Ocarina of Time, and it's got like kind of new dungeons, and it's a custom story to me. It's a wholly original game. It's kind of like the closest thing I could definitely think of it is it's Parallel Worlds. You know, it's a whole new kind of game using the Ocarina of Time engine. Link to the Past, I think best ROM hack is Zelda Parallel Worlds. Since I got my this, you know, because you make me spend a lot of money, I got my Super UFO Pro 8. I've been dumping all my Famicom, Super Famicom games on it and booting my Mac into Windows so I could run that software to change the headers and everything like that. That's been fun, but it turns out I have some weird Super Famicom games that I need to. If Game Dave ever does Super Family Corner, hopefully he has a couple of these because I think they'd be right up his alley. Some of them I can't find translations for, so I don't know what they're called. But one was like something Libre, and it was like a tactics RPG with Japanese schoolgirls. Like you had to watch, like it was like Fire Emblem, but with like schoolgirls. And I couldn't figure out how to like get through the first like area of it, but it was pretty interesting. And now I have the Romancing Saga games that I can translate or apply patches to, so that's fun. You got you turned yourself to metal. You cast Kaklang.
Yeah, I couldn't even move.
That's what you're now. Well, when you cast Kaklang in Dragon Quest, you can't move for like 4 turns.
I guess I'm just going to use up this recover thing.
Yeah, why not? Gotta get that health bar up. It's kind of weird. They have the number, and then they have that little bar, that green bar. If that green bar goes down, I don't think you can use chips.
Oh, okay.
I can't remember, but it's obviously recharging.
Yeah.
Powerhouse 1996 says he saw a copy of Zelda Wind Waker for the GameCube at a local video game shop for $50, and should he get it? And my advice is no. It's not a Max McCoy 6 Naga Libre is correct. That is the name of that game. I would not pay $50 for Zelda Wind Waker on the GameCube because I think you can get it for significantly cheaper than that. But also, I think you should just get the Wii U version of that game if you're going to spend a decent amount of money on it. If you're going to spend $30, you might as well get the Wii U version. But if you can get the GameCube version under $40, I think it's a fair price.
Yeah, I don't know what the price is, but that sounds high. I mean, it's a fantastic
game. I saw somebody
game.
wanted.
You should have it in some form. You
should have both. And you should have the Master Quest version that came with pre-ordering it. I remember the day Wind Waker came out on the GameCube, I had a snow day from school. This would have been 8th grade for me, I believe. 7th or 8th grade. And I was really upset because my dad could not, we couldn't leave the house, so I couldn't go to the store to pick up my new Zelda game that came out that day. So all my friends did, though. So the next day at school, when we did have school, my friends were like, "Oh man, Zelda's great." I'm like, "I haven't played it yet. I haven't played little Toon Link yet, man. Come on." So another comment here regarding the GC video. What's the best way to get GC video right now through the HDMI? Of course, we had the issue with Zelda X Pro's mod, unfortunately being something that really wasn't ready for mass market.
Right.
After what happened, unfortunately, to Metal Jesus Rocks' GameCube. And that's unfortunately kind of just how electronics can work, I guess, with my limited understanding of it. It's just an unfortunate kind of thing. But I don't know if there's really a lot of people doing HDMI external solutions, but I think there's a couple out there doing internal.
I know that Coury is soon going to get an internal mod installed on a backup GameCube that he's got. And
so everybody has a backup GameCube. I mean, I think I've got a backup.
I actually don't. At this point, I keep ending up with duplicates of systems because I guess that's what YouTube makes you do. But I don't have another GameCube, and I really want an Indigo GameCube, but they all look like junk.
I have a pretty good Indigo GameCube.
I didn't even know until, I started kind of looking for another GameCube just to have an extra. The controller and memory card panel, they can turn yellow and look awful, and I didn't know that.
Yeah, they got the same, flame retardant stuff in it Super Nintendo
I mean,
had.
I've got a launch GameCube, I've got a black one, but I never knew that could happen, but I just want an Indigo one to have something different, also because this kind of ended up becoming the iconic color. Yeah,
I got lucky. I scored an Indigo GameCube in the box a couple months ago for $25. It didn't come with anything else, it didn't come with the materials in the box, but the box is not bad. So it's cool to see that. Cameo, whatever that game you talked about that was a rare game that was going to be on the GameCube. Yeah. I forgot about that as a kid when I had my Indigo GameCube from back then. But I've had in my lifetime, I've had 4 GameCubes, I think.
Look at Roll's
between my brother and I.
That's a great dance.
Roll is interesting in this game, I think. She's just... okay. What is your opinion on the Mega Man cartoon show? I really like it.
I have not seen that much of it, really.
Oh man, it's not that long. I think it was 2 seasons, so it's easy to binge.
What I've seen of it, it's got some charm to it.
Oh yeah, I mean that's how I always thought of. It's always how I thought about Proto Man and Mega Man's relationship, because I didn't grow up with the NES games. I mean, I think my first Mega Man games were definitely the X series. And then I played through a couple of the older ones that a friend of mine had. And then Mega Man 8 came out, and I played that. Now Proto Man shows up, I'm like, dude, who's that? I remember him from the cartoon on Saturday morning. He's a jerk. Fireman started the fire. Land with the freaking analysis here. Sherlock Holmes over here, deducing it. Also, I like the idea that the internet can catch on fire.
I mean, they seem relatively surprised that it can catch on fire.
They're relatively surprised at everything in this game. This whole series is. Have you ever watched the anime or cartoon of this series?
I didn't know there was one.
Save yourself. Just don't. I'm sorry I told you about it. It's just not that good. I remember I used to like the Kirby one. There was a Kirby.
I watched.
I actually have VHS tapes of that.
The Kirby show came out my freshman year in college, and my first semester in college, like, I had this idea, like, you know what? I'm gonna wake up on Saturday morning and get back into Saturday morning cartoons, and that lasted for maybe 2 Saturdays. I just couldn't wake up.
Nobody in college wakes up early on Saturday.
But I mean, like, I liked what I saw of it. It has a good theme song.
This will show the discrepancy in age, I think, between you, Coury, and me. You were a freshman in college. I had just started the 7th or 6th grade when that show came out. But it was like 2001, 2002, so it's like VHSs were still a thing, and I that's how I watched it because I didn't have cable. I would see this. That's how I discovered Pokemon. Was I was looking in this catalog my mom had, and there was this VHS tape of this show with this yellow mouse on it, and I was like, "That's cool, Mom!" And it comes with this bouncy ball with that yellow mouse in it. Sure enough, next thing you know, I'm really into Pokemon.
Do I have this armor equipped that I was given?
Oh, you know, it's like the iron boots, man. You gotta.
Oh, okay. Here we go. Oh, I can. If I get power ups, I can probably shoot faster and actually maybe do a little damage.
A little damage. You'll do 1 or 1.5 instead of the like 0.2.
Yeah.
So, Crimson Fox asks if you, for you specifically, Try, if there's any games you really remember from elementary school.
I mean, elementary school was, NES for me. So, stuff like, Mario 1, 2, and 3, obviously, Rescue Rangers.
I mean, you really liked Rescue Rangers when your B button would do.
Yes, I did. Like back in that day, like I didn't have like a hugely robust NES experience, which was kind of one of the reasons, like I got back into it. Like once I got the internet, I was like, you know what, there was a lot of good NES games I missed out on, when I started seeing people talk about them and stuff. Mm-hmm. And so yeah, I got into quote unquote retro gaming in the late '90s.
You got into yesterday's gaming.
Yes, yesterday's gaming.
Back then.
And I'm always very glad that I did, because they're, I was able to still get a lot of things when, they weren't so expensive.
What I remember from elementary school for games and stuff is the Humongous Entertainment games on the computer, because that was what it really had as a young Duke. And that's, I think, what really fueled a lot of interest for me in point-and-click games. So when I finally started playing Nintendo games like competently, once I could read and everything, the Mac Venture games, of course, I'm huge into those.
Whoa! I didn't see that spike there.
Oh, that's how Mega Man works, man.
I didn't see it.
Gotta hide that HUD. It does kind of blend in with the background there. It just showed up on the stream for me as it happened there. Because you can't really jump that well because you're under a platform.
Yeah.
I guess you got to go on the other side, on the right
I just
side,
didn't see it. Touching the side of that spike.
Can't touch them spikes. Speaking of Spike, I just got the Blu-ray version of Cowboy Bebop, and I always knew how amazing that show was, but it looks great on HD, and I'm proud to say it's the one of the few Blu-rays I own now.
When
because I missed out on buying your Blu-ray. I'm sorry. Missed out on buying everything from Limited Run, unfortunately. But my Wonder Boy from Play Asia did come in the other day, and I finally started playing that game, and it is really good. It is really good. I've been playing that, and Shantae, Half Genie Hero. I think I just got to Ammo Baron in that game, so I don't think I'm very far in it, but I really like it.
Yeah, it's fantastic.
Unfortunately, I also got Metal Gear Solid 5 2 or 3 days ago, so I've been madly playing that a lot.
That game takes some time.
That game is nuts. I just finished episode 11, so I just met Quiet.
Okay. That game is long.
That sniper fight with her took me 2 hours.
Really? It was that's an interesting part.
Yeah, it was worse than the end for me from Metal Gear Solid 3.
Which that's one of the most iconic parts of the whole series.
That was a really good part of that game too. I mean, it was great.
Yeah, Metal Gear Solid
3 is
5, still. I have oh gosh, I really want to see whatever's down there, but maybe I shouldn't. How many backup chips do I have? Oh man, I got a bad selection of chips right now. Got all kinds of recover. I can just run through stuff and recover, I guess.
Except for spikes.
Yeah. How many extra Mega Mans do I have? Uh-oh, I don't have any backup chips. I better just go for Fireman. I'm guessing this is a game that I would have to go back to my previous save if I die.
I think so. And that always kind of stinks, because I think you'd have to complete most of the level again. I don't know if you'd start from this den area or not.
I am thinking that I would not.
That would clue me into, if that happens to me, I would play a different game. I mean, that's just kind of, when I first played GameCube, we had rented one, and we rented Luigi's Mansion, as you do, and we didn't rent a memory card at the time. I was, as a young internetless duke, I had no idea you needed a memory card, because you didn't on the Nintendo 64.
Yeah. I mean, usually.
See, I don't know what games do need a memory card, because I've never played one. But then again, I really have very limited experience with the 64. But
a lot of third-party games.
Really?
Yeah.
All I know is you don't need one on Harvest Moon 64, or Smash Brothers, and those are or Kirby and Bomberman Hero. Those are the 4 N64 games I have right now. And I was thinking when Voltar modded my Super Nintendo Mini, or Junior, whatever. Don't want to confuse people that I got one of those freaking gold pieces from GameStop. I was gonna send him my N64 too, until I looked at the bottom of it and realized the serial number starts with a 2, so I can't. It doesn't work. It's a S-video only type of system for me right now, which looks pretty good. I did my Bomberman World video. There's a touch of Bomberman Hero S-video goodness in there. Because if you emulate Bomberman Hero, Bomberman's face is 5 pixels away from his body. And it's really weird.
Huh.
I think Bomberman 64 is like that too. And maybe it's just the way it actually is, and the emulation just kind of ruins the magic. But I have not emulated anything for the channel in a while since I got the FrameMeister, but because I didn't have the game or the component cables for my PlayStation 2 at the time, because I was letting somebody borrow my PlayStation 2, I did emulate the Sega Classics Collection, which is something Coury actually just talked about in yesterday's video with the Sega Ages thing. To play columns on it for 3 seconds of a video.
Yeah.
Which I hope he does talk about the columns one, because it's interesting, because it's got a story mode in it, and if there's anything columns doesn't need, as I said when I talked about Columns Crown, it doesn't need a story mode.
Yeah,
Puyo and Tetris, they can get away with it. Columns can't. I don't want to see that George Costanza ripoff guy from Columns 3.
I I kind of want that game though after
No.
your video. I mean, that's
Okay,
like
I would play it. I would play it.
I mean, that looks like the best game though of the series. Columns 3, Genesis.
Columns 3 is my favorite. It is having the battle mechanic in it is like great because I love those things. You know, when my brother and I played it to make that video, it was nuts that like my brother Jared had like never played Columns before, and yet he like figured out instantly, which is a testament to I think the game. And he actually beat me quite a few times at Columns 3, especially because he's like, okay, I'm going to hold on to these freaking items or spells or whatever, these magic things, sitting there, which do go away after a while, so you don't want to make them wait too long. I'd be on a roll, ready to like use the crush bar, and then he'd just do a spell on me and make my, the spells are random, but like in one case, the playing field goes upside down, and I'm just completely thrown off. Like it's super disorienting.
That's not a heal thing. I don't even know which thing to use at this point. I was turning up for a second there.
You didn't go with the optimized level order. Game over. As you should with every Mega Man game. You don't pick Fire.
I knew it was going to kick me back out.
Oh, shoot. Well, you got to go with Cutman first. Everybody knows that. Go Cutman.
Every once in a while,
Cutsman, Fireman.
You just need that early game over sort of as a wake-up call, you know?
Yeah, you had to play a different game. There's something about going all the way back. As I was saying, like when we rented that GameCube at Luigi's Mansion, and I got through like 4 areas, like 4 rooms, I should say. Like after you rescue Egad and all that stuff, I died or whatever happens to Luigi, and then it's like, well, you didn't save, so you get to restart the entire game. My dad's like sitting back there, just drinking a beer, just like. Yeah, that's what happened when you lost in Mario 3. I remember that. You died on the big turtle. You went all the way back. I was like, yeah, to the beginning of the world, Dad. Like, you didn't start the whole game over. But there's something I think that makes a challenge good is when you have game overs. And people were given, amazingly, Sonic Mania a lot of crap for having like traditional lives and game overs.
Oh, really?
They're like, I got to restart the whole zone again, not the same act. And I'm like, well, I don't know what you signed up for, man, but people wanted Genesis Sonic again, and I think it's kind of what they got.
But you don't have to start the whole game over again.
No, you have to start the zone over.
Okay.
Not the whole
so
game.
It's like Sonic 3 rules.
Yeah, it is Sonic 3 in a way. It has the save system of Sonic 3. Yeah. So there's a no save mode where you can do some extra stuff, and then there's the save select stuff. And it's the same as in Sonic 3. After you beat the game, you can pick any level you want without doing the level select cheat, and you can farm Chaos Emeralds that way. That's how I did it. I beat the whole game without finding a single frickin' zone, special zone or whatever. And then I beat the game, and it was like, I better get those Chaos Emeralds. And so I found the Green Hill zone, special zone, and then I farmed all the Chaos Emeralds on it. I have like a score on that file of like the first digit starts with a 6. So it's pretty crazy because it carries over even if you finish the level or not after you beat the game. You can just quit out of the level and farm lives and points and all and Chaos Emeralds. But now I've beaten the game. Now I've beaten Sonic Mania 5 times with everybody, and it's phenomenal. I mean, I'm not going to do a video on it.
Are you playing it on?
So I got it on PS4 with the collector's edition. They got my little statue back there.
Okay.
Which statue's pretty cool. But the main reason I did that, I was going to get it on the Switch. But I just happened to be glancing at Amazon the other day, or not the other day, before it came out, and it was the special edition, collector's edition for Sonic Mania on PS4 was $40 instead of like $70 or whatever the original price was. I was like, add to cart, doing that. Because once you pay for it, no, for some reason the PlayStation 4 was the only one that was on sale that day, and I don't know if it was a fluke. It was a promotion I didn't know about or anything, but it's like, because I looked up the Switch version, and then it's like, you may also be interested in this one that's half the price. And I'm like, I am. because I need more games for my Switch. I honestly don't have that many, but at the same time, I didn't have that very many games from PS4 either, which has now been remedied in the past like 2 weeks.
And I really hate to admit it, but that Mario Rabbids game is pretty good.
It looks interesting. Looks interesting. I've never played XCOM, but I guess it's very similar to that.
Apparently, yeah, it's pretty good. I mean,
I do like strategy games though, so I'm really thinking about picking it up.
Yeah,
when
I would not consider myself a Rabbids fan by any stretch. I mean, this is honestly the first Rabbids game I've played, but yeah, I mean, it's a very good game. I mean, what can you say?
Yeah, I mean, I've seen Luigi dab, and that's about all the material about it I've seen lately. And that alone, I was like, it looks like a pretty good game. Blade Blur's like, I want to add Duke to my PS4 to see what trophies he has. You're going to see a lot of Dragon Quest Builders trophies and Dragon Quest Heroes 2 trophies. That's about it.
You know, I wish that I still paid much attention to what kind of trophies...
I turned the alert off that pops up on your screen because it's annoying when I'm recording footage or whatever.
Yeah, that's true.
Because I'm sitting on 800 gigabytes of footage for Dragon Quest Heroes 2 like a fool. And the last thing I wanted was like, that's a great shot, but the trophy thing is in there and that looks stupid. So I turned that crap off. But the other day I'd like look through them and I was like, oh man, I have almost all of these trophies for this game.
Yeah,
because there's in Dragon Quest Heroes 2, there is like a accolades thing where you can look at the achievements and they're all trophies, but there's other ones that are built into it.
Yeah, I don't think I've gotten a platinum trophy in years. Like
I don't think I have either.
I've never been like a big like trophy or achievement guy, but like I kind of like them on a game by game basis. Like there used to be like certain games that I would be inspired to.
I can see that now. I remember when I graduated high school, I spent a lot of my high school graduation money on a 360, which burned out in 3 weeks because of the Red Ring of Death. And you get the achievements. And I didn't grasp. This is 2008, and I'm like, what is this stupid boop sound this thing is making? And then this little thing comes up and it's like, achievement unlocked. 10G, finished a level, and I'm like, I know. I don't need a little reminder that I did that. So I was never huge on it, but trophies I think are more interesting, and I think they're really the same to me now. But like not having the display on there and Steam as challenge, like Steam achievements too are the same way. Like now I look at them as like goals. But
yeah.
when you get the ones for playing just the game normally, I'm kind of like, I don't get the point.
Yeah, I mean it's like if there's a certain game, it's like I really like this game, like I want to put in the effort to get the platinum trophy, but I just haven't really found the time for it lately. I feel like the last one I might have done was maybe the original Gravity Rush, which was a pretty long time ago.
You really do like Gravity Rush.
Yeah, I mean, it's weird, like in some, like, there's a lot of things I don't like about it, but it's kind of like the whole package just kind of comes together for me, I guess.
Yeah.
The second Gravity Rush, like, I feel like I overall didn't like as much, like, it just, it was good, but I don't know. It didn't come together like the first one did. I didn't.
Really?
Think. Yeah. Like it's kind of weird.
I've only played a little bit of the first one. I've never played the second one at all.
It's kind of got.
And my brother's the one that had the first one, so I've just kind of played with him.
Yeah. The second game kind of has like 3 sort of episodes that have completely unrelated stories. And the final boss of the second episode is pretty insane. Like kind of like gross on a level of like what some of the more recent Resident Evil games might have done. Actually, like it's pretty like what? Where did that come from? But like the last episode was like finally got onto like ugh, spikes
Don't tell
in
me you
this
got
game
another
are just
game
like
over.
hard to see. Okay, I'm just going.
That was pretty cheap because it's like there's a bar there. Like you'd think you'd be able to just move around
I'm just
it or
going
something.
for fireman. I just got good. I've got a good selection of weapons right now, so I'm just going for fireman. Like it looked like I was tearing them down pretty quick. So if I've got good weapons,
Yeah, I mean you had like a water weapon that definitely took a good chunk of them out.
Yeah, I don't think I have that now, but oh, I should equip. I need to equip my fire armor.
Yeah, you got to get your Mega Man red tunic out,
which does not show up, but oh well. What were we talking about? Oh yeah, Gravity Rush. So like the third episode of Gravity Rush 2, like actually finally gets around to talking, explaining like who Kat is and where she came from and stuff, which was like the whole reason that like a sequel was kind of needed anyway. But the first two episodes just like don't have really anything to do with anything. So I don't know, like it was okay. I had fun with it, but I don't know, something about the first game just seemed more unique.
I'm worried that that's going to happen with the new Ni no Kuni.
Are you a fan of the first one?
I love the first one.
I wish I did not despise the first one.
You wound me. I love the first one.
I mean, I loved everything about it. Like, I loved the story, I loved the characters, I loved the style, I loved the music. Like, no game has pained me so much to hate as Ni no Kuni. But the battle system was... I could not tolerate the battle system. I thought it was the worst.
Mean, it's not my favorite. I'll tell you that.
I thought the battle system was just like the worst thing, and it completely ruined the game for me.
Shoot. What was I playing recently that had like a battle? Oh, okay. At Too Many Games, I bought that Cartia game. It's an Atlas game. I think
it sounds sort of familiar.
It's got art. You know what? I'm going to grab it because I can't remember everything about it. So it's an Atlas game, but it's got art by the guy that does Final Fantasy's old art.
Oh yeah.
But it's Cartier the World of Fate. It's a tactics style game, and it has what I thought was Terra the first time I saw it from Final Fantasy VI on the cover. I really want to like this game, like a lot, but I don't. The battle system, like you have a party of people, and then you can like using runes and items and stuff make spells and dolls, and like there's a rock paper scissors thing with the dolls that go into the party. Where one's stronger than the other, and then the other one's stronger than that one. That's pretty crazy. A tactics style game though that I do like from Atlas was the Rhapsody game. I also got at Too Many Games.
Yeah, I remember seeing that.
This is phenomenal. I think this is a great game, but it has a similar concept. You recruit monsters instead of just getting like party members through the story, which you kind of do too. But I
mean, how do you dodge it? I guess I probably could have.
Yeah, he just like roasted you.
Yeah, I probably could have dashed or slid under those attacks.
Yeah, it seems like too much for a first boss.
Well, it kind of depends on what chips you end up getting, I guess. Yeah, I should have been dashing under that, I think. If it kills me again, then I'm gonna have to pick something else.
So what else are you looking forward to playing now that you do have your component back up and running?
I don't know. We'll have to see. I guess we're gonna see.
Okay, the sliding does work kind of, but you only have so long to do it. It does work,
but man, I wonder if this is like the kind of game where you get like you've got that tough sort of curve at the beginning, and then you get like enough stuff that kind of works. Like, you know, I like sort of the core concept of the Battle Network series because I actually kind of like I've never really been to like real card games,
yeah, like especially on a video game. I think part of playing a card game is you're playing it with somebody across from you.
Right, but I've never really been into that kind of card game like Magic or Pokemon cards or whatever, but
they're too complicated for me. I'm a pretty dumb guy.
Yeah, but I like Bot and Katos.
Oh, yeah. I've been so upset because my Bot and Katos doesn't read in my Wii. Reads in my GameCube. No. I think there's a problem with my Wii U drive because Lost Kingdoms 2 doesn't read in it either. But I really want to play that game again because I'm a poor man and have just, you know, my normal Wii component cables. But I really like the game, and the Origins is really good too. But it doesn't feel like a card game, like a card game does. It feels like there's another game that kind of is a similar thing where you have to pick your commands. That's kind of like Mega Man and Bait and Katos. And I can't think of the name of it now, but I like it. I like the idea of it because if you can stack a deck well. In Lost Kingdoms is kind of the same thing.
Yeah.
If you build the right kind of deck for any situation, you're going to be pretty good at it.
Yeah, it. I mean, I like the idea of it because I kind of like you have some control over it. You kind of build, you know, your 30 cards or whatever you can hold, but then like you kind of still have to work within the confines of what you're given, and so it plays out like every battle is going to play out a little differently depending on what you get. And I like the idea of that. Although with this game here, I'm like, does that concept work in an action game? I don't know if it does. Like an RPG, I mean, Lost Kingdoms is an action game, but it's different, you know. Let me take a look-see over here and see what other component system game I might want to pop in. Let's see.
I'm sure you're going to have a selection.
I have a selection. I have a hard time choosing. Let's see.
So now that Try's gone, I'm your pilot for this evening. And he's going to pick a game that's hopefully better than Mega Man Network Transmission. I tried to tell him it was an okay game, but I didn't remember how crappy Fireman was. So Travis, the second game I mentioned, you might be we were talking about Bait and Katos, Bot and Cut, whatever. I'm not really sure how you say that game. The game I was talking about was Lost Kingdom and Lost Kingdom 2, and their games. The first one I think came out relatively early in the GameCube's library, and the idea is that it's use like an all of a sudden all out attack kind of thing, and each card has a certain kind of quickness to it, kind of like a certain amount of uses. What was interesting about Lost Kingdoms 1 was each of the encounters was like in a certain arena, and then in Lost Kingdoms 2, the battles actually took place in the main area of the gameplay, so you didn't actually transition to a new area to do battle, so it's a lot more seamless. They're great games. They're relatively cheap. Lost Kingdoms 2 is a little bit more expensive. Lost Kingdom 1 is, I think, like a $15 to $20 game. Definitely recommended. There are also games, if Try, you are like popping popcorn or something over there. Lost Kingdoms, if it's something that we don't see nearly as much in that era of games, but if you're interested in it, those are games that have pretty interesting female protagonists. Lost Kingdoms 2 especially, I think, has a pretty strong female lead, and she is definitely made to be attractive in the game, but she's a great character to kind of hopefully negate that a little bit. But they both are highly recommended games. I want to talk about them on my show at some point. Just haven't gotten around to recording them yet. Try's back.
I thought about popping in Lost Kingdoms because I know you're such a big fan, but I thought that might be a little bit...
I was just somebody asked what was that game I was talking about, so I just went through the rant.
Yeah, well, I thought about it, but I thought that game might be a little ambitious to...
It's a little slow to start.
Yeah, I thought that might be a bit much for this time, and why?
Next time Corey's sick.
Yeah.
You ain't got no picture.
Why don't I got no picture? Let's see if the frame.
I can't even recognize this with the tune.
Oh, here we go. I guess I just had to resync the FrameMeister.
Don't you hate it when that happens?
So
hello, let's monkey ball.
Yeah, just something a little easy to get into.
I used to love the first Super Monkey Ball.
Yeah,
I love the mini games most.
I love the first one. You know, I had this game way back. I might even still have my save data. Let's see. Yeah, it looks like it's my old save data. I sold this game some time ago, and then recently got it again because, you know, I'm like, why did I get rid of video games?
I have asked myself that many a time.
The thing about this game, like, the thing I like about the first one so much is that it's just so simple.
Oh, yeah.
Like, just a very simple, easy... I mean, it's a very difficult game, but...
Did you ever play the Game Boy Advance version?
No, I have not.
It's actually amazingly well done. I mean, the 3D on it's not bad. You'll have to look in those bargain bins with all those Nickelodeon games.
Yeah, but, oh, I guess... Wow, that was a long time ago. I haven't seen... one of my old friends from high school has a save on this, which... I guess he probably did that while I was home during college, because this was, you know, GameCube was kind of a college system.
And he only played it for 11 minutes. Goodness.
But the thing that I like about the first game is like very simple. The levels are very challenging, but it's simple. And one of the first things I noticed about this game is that there is no such thing as a 30-second level. Not that I'm aware.
Oh, yeah.
And
there's a few that are pretty quick.
But I guess kind of the thing to me was, it's like, you know, all of these levels are relying on these like complicated designs and gimmicks and stuff, and I just really liked that the first game was just so simple. And it's okay. It has like a mixture of like these really quick levels and then, you know, the 60-second levels.
I forgot how creepy their mouths were. Like Dr. Bad Boon's just like... Just like, oh,
Stop
man.
it, Dr. Bad Boon.
This is basically, this could have been
more.
This is the plot of Donkey Kong Country.
Basically, yeah. Well, I like his little...
If King K. Rool was like a jerk monkey and not a crocodile,
yeah,
we'd have...
Fair enough.
He's got a labyrinth with a... No minotaurs in this labyrinth, just monkeys and balls.
You know, I'm not going to set it because it would... take too much resetting on my stream layout, but magical spell is EA Poo. Okay, there you go.
Yeah, this is my favorite episode of Sailor Moon.
But
I forgot how
I think there's
simple this game
widescreen
was.
in this game, so this is like a 1080p 60 game. I think the first Monkey Ball is 480i only.
Yeah, I had no idea until I got that PVM, and Coury and Voltar and I were trying to figure out what was up with it. That there were 480p games on the PlayStation 2.
Yeah,
I just thought for some reason I thought it was a very 480i only system, and then Coury sent me this list, and he's like, "Okay, Duke, you got any of these games?" Which I don't have that very many games, but I did have Star Ocean.
Okay.
Which that article that he had sent me had said it's an option in the menu to turn on progressive scan. It's not. You got to hold like triangle when it boots or something, or triangle and circle or something.
Yeah,
weird
it's weird. It took me forever to figure out how to do the progressive mode in Radiata stories.
Yeah, because I think it's different in every game. Or at least some of them are different.
Some games like God of War it's just in the menu.
You're right. In Star Ocean, you can switch between 4:3 and 16:9 in the menu, which I don't think it looks right in 16:9 to me.
I think some
Dragon
games
Quest
in that
8
era
looks
did not
okay
have
in 16:9.
good widescreen modes.
No. I'm so used to Dragon Quest 8 being in 16:9 now that it's hard for me to like look at 4:3 and go like, that's right. Until I looked at it on this PVM again, I'm like, yeah, 4:3 is awesome.
Yeah. Yeah, but you don't have like Valkyrie Profile Silmeria or
no, my brother probably does though, but because he was more
that has I've never played it myself, but that has like 1080i.
Really?
Yeah.
That was a little forward thinking there. I guess the original Xbox has.
Yeah, it has some. GameCube has no. I don't even think it can be finagled into running HD resolution. But yeah, GameCube or PS2 does have. I think I forget how many Gran Turismo games are.
Yeah, it seems to be that game series always has a couple modes.
Yeah, the Gran Turismo. Is there like 2 Gran Turismo games on PS?
I don't remember.
Yeah, I mean, it's not a series that I'm particularly into.
I think the last time I was at Coury's house, we tested something on his PS2, and it involved Gran Turismo, and I think it was a resolution thing that we were trying to figure out. I think we were also trying to figure out why his PlayStation 2 booted faster with the controller plugged in than if it didn't have the controller plugged in. And I was like, yeah, your controller has extra RAM, Coury. Which, I mean, it definitely seemed like it, because it was like minutes difference. It was crazy.
That's weird.
That was when you called him about the Extron. This is how long ago this was.
Yeah. And he was like having some weird trouble with his system, right?
Something like that. Yeah, like that's what we were like, yeah, the controller plugged in, it like works great.
I do remember some weird. Wow, that was so long ago, and now I've only like just now like got the Extron like kind of finished setting up.
Do you remember when you were at Coury's and I was there, and we were going to Arcade Legacy, and then Game Dave like butt dialed Coury or something like that? It was like, we're all together. It's the trifecta. We're all here. It's like Dave was in spirit. I hope you guys can do some stuff with that project. I know it's been a while, but I know those arcade things are a little complicated.
Yeah, we just never really came to any sort of like satisfying conclusion with that.
I really can't blame you.
We never felt like we got like to an answer where it was like, this is how you should hook up arcade stuff.
How Super Gun works.
Yeah, like it's just so complicated. There's just so many variables, and every board is different. And yeah, we would like to do a Super Guns episode someday. Maybe salvage some material from that. But it just
I do want to see the footage of when you were hanging out your camera on that Ronin out of that van driving around that mall. I really want to see that.
Yeah, like at the very least, I feel like we can do some stuff with the Arcade Legacy B-roll sometime.
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, I have.
Yeah.
It's all good stuff.
I mean, like the exterior mall footage, like that.
Oh yeah.
Really
I mean, if you guys have never been to Cincinnati's greatest mall on earth, it is like a time capsule to the 90s. I mean, it is like there's pastels everywhere. It's abandoned, just like the 90s should be. And it's nuts. But in there is a gem of a facility at Arcade Legacy. It's pretty crazy. I've gotten some, I've gotten some great games at Arcade Legacy too. I got both the Lufia and on the Game Boy Color and Game Boy Advance for dirt cheap there, and it was
got
great.
A few things too. I got like a mint condition Metal Gear Solid 1, which previously I had the PS, like the one that's in like a PS2 stock case.
It
came with
the
like
one that came with like Substance or whatever.
Yeah. Which it just kind of felt wrong. Like I needed to have like the original case, and it was not expensive. I got Resident Evil 3 Dreamcast version because I'm weird and have this obsession with having like different versions of Resident Evil games.
Resident Evil has like a version for everything. I think you can play Resident Evil on a toaster.
Oh no!
I mean, like
I misread.
You just fell right off of that.
What was highlighted and what was not highlighted.
Yeah, I think Resident Evil. I'm waiting for the My Life in Gaming episode on how to get the best picture quality out of my game.com. I mean, that's the system that really needs a TV output mod. Good old Tiger Gamecom with two cartridge slots.
I saw some Gamecom games at where was it? Was it a store?
I saw a couple of Too Many Games.
Yeah.
I saw somebody selling a whole Gamecom at Too Many Games. So I was like,
I don't know if I would recognize a Gamecom if I saw one.
It'll look like a dumb PDA. That's pretty much it.
Sounds about right.
It looks like something. It looks like an Apple Newton that had a little too much to eat. I mean, that's pretty much what it was. My computer just decided to move this window, and I was like trying to figure out where it went. It like went behind Steam for some reason. Because I was looking at my Steam achievements when we were talking about trophies and stuff. And turns out I have quite a few in La Mulana. Which, if you haven't played La Mulana and you're looking for an amazing Castlevania, Metroidvania, whatever kind of style game, La Mulana is amazing.
How hard is that game? Because I've always been
Mulana
curious.
Is freaking insanely hard.
But
it's difficult.
I'm kind of scared off of it because, like, I don't know if people are just exaggerating. Because I mean, I don't have any problems with like a tough NES game, but
okay, you would be more accommodated to it then. It is.
Some people might just not be as accustomed to NES games or whatever, but like when they say like, oh, it's really hard, like I'm imagining this is someone who knows hard games saying it's really hard.
Yeah,
and maybe it's not.
It's difficult because it doesn't tell you a whole lot. La Mulana is the type of game that is very Nintendo hard kind of thing. Like
I'm okay with
it.
that.
It doesn't make everything super obvious, but you can kind of do things like most Metroid games or Castlevania style Metroid games or Castle Metroidvania style games, in whatever order you want. There's a huge swap of items and weapons, but one of the cool things in La Mulana is a remake of another PC. I mean, it's the same PC game, but that was done in kind of a PC 88 style. So one of the items in the game that you have is a laptop that runs basically PC 88 software that you would earn in the game. And you combine that with the different items and sub-weapons that you have, you would solve all these crazy puzzles. The combat is really just, it's probably the hardest part. Because if you don't have the right kind of weapons or items, the bosses may not take any damage. There's a part in La Mulana in the Temple of the Moon dungeon, part of it, I think. Kind of like Castlevania, you go to different parts of the dungeon, the music changes, you get a title thing and all this stuff. Very Symphony of the Night in that way. And there's like one boss that you can't damage unless you have the right kind of items or do the right puzzle or something like that. And if you don't know that, you might keep retrying that boss,
that
thinking like, I just didn't hit him in the eyeball. I just hit him in the wrong
right. Yeah, that's a little troubling.
Until you get an email from this village elder who's the only guy that emails you, I think, in the game. He's like, oh, yeah, the Nubus, yeah, don't fight him. He's you got to do the puzzle first in the other dungeon, in the other, like, Mio Reality or something. La Mulana is really complicated, but I'm super freaking pumped that La Mulana 2 is coming out, hopefully soon. I know it's at PAX West, and I haven't seen anybody talk about it yet, but I had a tweet out the other day. I was like, if you're at PAX West, play La Mulana and tell me how amazing it is.
Now, what's your recommended version of the game?
I do recommend the remake either on Steam or WiiWare. WiiWare is actually where I cut my teeth with La Mulana. When I worked for Classic Gamer Mundertoe, the WiiWare version was the version I replied. Problem with the WiiWare version, there's an ice dungeon in the game that does have a game-breaking bug, and I don't think they ever fixed it. You cannot complete a certain area in the game if you do something in the wrong order. They think they fixed that in the Steam version, but I think with Nintendo, I think you have to like reauthorize like a game signing, and that costs money. And I don't think they ever did it. It's also been, other than testing the Wii U component output or the Wii component output on my 14L5 over there, and La Mulana was a game I tested it with. I haven't played the WiiWare version in a very long time, but the Steam version is great.
Now, have there been any recent versions on more recent consoles? Any physical releases?
No, I don't think so. I don't think it ever got a physical release. I believe the remake was I know La Mulana 2 is a Kickstarter-backed game, but because they've made La Mulana and now the remake of La Mulana, I mean, the remake is, I think the original game came out in 2005. So the remake came out significantly later. So these guys definitely know what they're doing.
I mean, I could see them maybe including it as a bonus in La Mulana too.
That would be awesome.
Which,
I mean,
given the trend nowadays, I would be surprised if there wasn't a physical copy.
Oh yeah, I unfortunately, for whatever reason, missed backing La Mulana 2. By the time I fully knew that it was going on, the campaign was over. Because they're a month long, and I've had moments where I didn't get on the internet a whole lot. So by the time I knew La Mulana was fully in play, it was funded. And Blade Blur asked, and he probably has figured this out by now, La Mulana is spelled LA-MULANA. And it's an indie game. I mean, if you're into indie games that have cool sprite styles, I mean, it looks like a PlayStation game.
It was kind of the era of like Cave Story.
Yes, yeah, it came out around, I think, the time when Cave Story was at its height, which is surprising. Cave Story's managed to how many versions of Cave Story do most people own? Like 3 or 4.
Yeah.
I think I have 5 Steam keys of it sitting in my gift box or something by now or something.
I finally got a physical version.
But La Mulana is a game that has
Switch.
nothing. And that came with a soundtrack, didn't it?
That was like a GameCube-sized soundtrack.
Little baby DVD for you, with a lot of good music. I was really glad. I'm really glad and sad that my Shantae Half Genie Hero, the box is a little beat up. It was the last one that GameStop had. But I didn't know
the Risky Beats edition.
Yeah, I love the soundtrack. I'm sad there's not more songs like the first levels with the lyrics.
Oh gosh, it's so good.
Because I was humming that to work one day. I was like, danger. I just love it. But I forgot how much I really liked the Shantae games playing that, because the last one I played, of course, was Pirate's Curse, and I played it on 3DS, and I think it's on Steam now too. So I need to buy that. But you didn't have the transformations in that version. You just had the pirate tools. Right. And then I booted up Half Genie Hero, and it's like, hey, you want the DLC with Risky Boots with the pirate tools? So I'm like, let me beat the game first, but probably.
Yeah, I redeemed I bought the physical version on PS4, but I redeemed and played my Kickstarter backer for the for Wii U. And
okay.
I got the Risky Boots DLC for free. I think maybe a week before it officially came out. So I played the first level. And the first level is pretty much the same. Whoa! the first level is pretty much the same as when you play as Shantae.
Mm-hmm.
You know, where you're fighting Risky's
Poop Toot. That's what I remember at the first boss. I don't remember what the first boss was actually called, but I know like Risky gives like this abbreviation, this whole name for it, and Shantae's like Poop Toot. Like I probably laughed for like 3 minutes, because I forgot how funny these games were. I mean, Way Forward knows how to write a pretty funny like script. It's great.
I think I get their sense of humor.
Yeah,
but
it's innocent enough that it like isn't crazy, but at the same time, it's like just funny enough that I think anybody can have fun with it.
Yeah, but
like when Shantae gets fired again from being the Guardian, she's like, again, I'm like, this is like the best continue. It's like you don't need to play each of these games to know what's going on, but like it's fun to know that this dumb mayor keeps firing the Guardian Genie.
Yeah, but it's funny because like when you're playing as Risky, like it's the same thing, but she's like fighting the Tinkerbats because she's mad at them for like pillaging the town without her.
Right.
So you're fighting the same enemies as Shantae, even though you're Risky.
That's pretty funny. I'll have to play that when I beat the actual game. It's like, what do I play now? Like, it's a good problem to have. Like, I have been playing a lot of Metal Gear Solid 5. I need to play stuff for my show.
Yeah, sure.
Which I'm working on. I'm working on 3 different projects right now. I am replaying Evoland 2, which if you've watched my show for a while, you know one of the first videos I did was on the original Evoland game. And I had played through this game and recorded it before, but like an idiot who had just gotten OBS, and this is kind of what I was telling you before the stream started to try, I had recorded it in the wrong H.264 codec, not to bore people with the details, but Apple makes a really crappy H.264 codec that Premiere and most versions of like early Final Cut and Resolve, because I have like 4 editors on my computer, don't open very well. You can convert it. Problem is, I didn't want to convert 23 hours worth of footage into a giant format and then wait on it. I was like, I'll just re-record it. That was a year ago. But Evoland 2 is really good, so I'm looking forward to finishing that. Dragon Quest Heroes 2, I'm kind of waiting on that NES RGB mod to get finished, because if I'm going to talk about my boy Tornico, I got to get a little NES Dragon Warrior 4 action on there, because I've already injected the Dragon Quest 4 DS ROM into my Wii U so I can capture that correctly, but I've also recorded it on the iPhone version. So yeah, I just need the NES version again now. I
probably
should just put the freaking PlayStation version on there. I've got that handy right here.
Now I know you're a big mobile guy. Did you play Oceanhorn?
I did. Oceanhorn's really good.
Did you play the mobile version?
Yes. I really want to play the PlayStation 4 version, or even the Vita version. I think is out there. Unfortunately, I haven't had a chance to do it yet. But it was really good on mobile. There's a lot of really good 3D mobile games out there that do have much better console ports, and those are the versions you should play. But Oceanhorn's a pretty old game, all things considered.
I was really surprised because the limited run came out for that like a
just
month
recently,
or so
I think.
ago.
Yeah,
and I actually I probably had heard about it when it was a mobile game originally, but I kind of forgot.
Yeah,
and
it was one of those games too that was a premium title, so it had a pretty hefty download charge for it. And
in some circles that might have been deemed unacceptable for a mobile game.
In the last episode of Mobility with Drop Wizard Tower, one of the things I talked about was I like it when a game is free to play if one of the purchases is just to remove the ads and like not just get a bunch of extra crap. Because I remember back in the old PC days where you could get a demo of a game and be like, yo, this is what the game is. Make sure you want to buy it and make sure it runs on your stuff. And especially with Android things, and I only have an Android tablet that's a piece of junk. It's hard to gauge how well a game's going to run after you pay for it. And some mobile stores have a pretty crappy refund policy. Apple especially. And even if the game meets the system requirements, doesn't mean it's going to run very well. And unfortunately, with mobile games, there are some that like, oh yeah, the video looked great in the demo thing of it, but I'm going to pay $10 for this game. Oh wait, now I've got a crappy version of Final Fantasy V. Oh no. You don't know if you're going to like it until you get it. So I am pro not pay for it before you play it on mobile, with exceptions.
But yeah, Oceanhorn, like I'm sure I had known of it. When it came out on mobile, and I kind of forgot, and then like I think I saw stuff when they were porting it to consoles, and I was like, oh, like I kind of have a soft spot for games. They're just like they don't even care that it's obvious that like it's ripping off another game. Like they just like
Oceanhorn's very Zelda.
It's so Zelda, and it just doesn't care that it's so obvious that it's Zelda. It's like it wears the clone badge of honor with pride,
Yeah, I mean your boat in Oceanhorn is very much King of Red Lions. I mean, like the way the sail looks and everything like that. I mean, the sail's. I think the sail has a red graphic on it in Oceanhorn. Like, whoa, big deal.
Yeah,
big difference.
I forget exactly, but yeah.
But I mean, like It'll Do would have been great on mobile. There's a lot of really good Zelda rip-offs games that would have been perfect on mobile, and Oceanhorn wasn't as much of a rip-off as it could have been.
But anyway, when the limited run came out, I meant to buy the PS4 version because I tend to gravitate toward consoles, and I accidentally ordered the Vita version. I was like, oh, whoops.
You had too many tabs open, man. You're trying to game the system.
And like that, I didn't even realize until it came. And I told Coury, I said, oh, my Oceanhorn's going to be here tomorrow. And he's like, what? Mine hasn't even shipped. And I think it turned out because they either got the Vita ones first or they shipped the Vita ones first. I don't really know. But I was like, oh. And then I was like, well, I'm about to beat I Am Setsuna, so I'm going to need another game to play for the Missouri trip, the Missouri GameCon trip. And so I was like, this might work out in the end, but I was kind of concerned, like, is it really going to run that well on Vita? And then
it runs pretty well on my iPhone, so it better run well on the Vita.
That was when I looked up, like, I was like, oh, this was a mobile game originally. Well, then I bet it runs pretty darn well on Vita.
It seems like it does, from what I understand.
Yeah, I mean, I ended up playing about half the game on the trip on the Vita, and then when I got home, I switched to playing it on the PS TV, and it still looked pretty good. It was 30 frames. I assume the
PS4 720p goodness.
Yeah, I assume the PS4 version's probably 60. I'm not actually sure. I was assuming it would be, but
so your friend and mine, Lord Voltar's joined us in the chat, and he mentioned that he has the Dragon Warrior APKs and loaded them up on his television, and that they look like garbled flash games, which is an accurate statement. Because those games, I think. They're the Dragon Quest mobile games for 1-2 especially are the same versions sort of that you can get on PS3 now in Japan. But I think the PS4 versions they actually have proper scaling on the sprites now, because the mobile versions of Dragon Quest 1 and 2 on mobile don't scale the sprites correctly, so they're freaking ugly. I mean the art style of those versions is kind of ugly anyway, but like. The scaling looks like a cheap RPG Maker game that somebody decided to pirate back in 2003. like if Aurafell looked like crap. I mean, it's kind of what it looks like to me. Dragon Quest 3 on mobile though, perfect. Best version of the game. Because they fixed everybody's sprites on the Dragon Quest 6 engine. Everybody has full eyeballs now instead of just a black square. They have white, black, white.
My favorite thing about the mobile Dragon Quest ports or remakes or whatever you want to call them, which I've not played, but My favorite thing about them is that they have given us canon English subtitles for 2 and 3. Does 1 have a subtitle?
No, it does not.
Yeah,
it does not. It's the only one that doesn't.
But it doesn't have one in Japan
the whole
either.
canon. What's that?
It doesn't have one in Japan either, though. Right?
No, yeah, it's the only one in the whole series that does not have a subtitle at all. Which is interesting because I figured if anyone would, it would have been like, I don't know, what would you subtitle the first Dragon Quest? Like, Dragon Lord Bad Guy Dude. Though I'm really looking forward. I'm hoping that we get Dragon Quest Builders 2 over here in the West. Now that we're getting Dragon Quest 11.
Oh, is that not confirmed?
I don't believe Dragon Quest Builders 2 is confirmed yet. No, for the West at least. But I really want to know how they're going to do a sequel to that game because they kind of like they didn't completely cement it in the ending of the first Builders game, but they kind of just like, oh yeah, game's over. Go back to work now. But Dragon Quest Builders 2 was like my 2016 game of the decade. I mean, it's good. Dragon Quest Builders 1 Blade Blur did sell pretty decently. A lot of people are complaining that it didn't get a PC release, which I understand because Dragon Quest Heroes did. But I don't know how it would work with a mouse because it's not a first person kind of game. Even though that was one of the things I brought up that would have worked better if having the option to work. Because you get into a cave in Dragon Quest Builders 2 and you might as well just have a headache because it ain't fun. Rest of the game though, very fun. And you tried to get into Heroes, I think, but I don't think you ever picked up the second one.
Well, I mean, I still haven't gotten around to playing it. I really want to.
It's really good. It's really good. I mean, like I said earlier, I have 800 gigabytes of footage of Dragon Quest Heroes 2 sitting on my hard drive, which is about, I think, 50 hours. It's really good. It's incredibly crazy how much more efficient they made the engine work. I mean, Koei Tecmo really put in an extra effort to make Heroes 2 not only like a lot smoother, like it's an incredibly smooth game, but also just a hell of a lot more fun. There's more Dragon Quest in it. Like, there's more side quests. There's no, like, pick your stage. You want to go over here, do level 1, you do level 1. Just go there. There's actually a world map and all that stuff. You actually have to, like, you want to go somewhere? Well, okay, you can cast Zoom if you want to, but if you want to grind out some levels like Dragon Quest, you better just freaking walk. And I'm like, oh, yeah, that's me. I want to do that. Because to prep for this video, I've also been playing Hyrule Warriors again, and oh man, I like that game, but I hate capturing keeps. Like every level, it's like, Ganondorf's here, better capture a keep. Oh, now Lana's here, better capture a keep. Everything's in a keep, and I think that's how it is in Dynasty Warriors, which I now own 3 Dynasty Warriors games to make this video. And I'm like, I hope there's not any freaking keeps in these games. I don't like it.
I've only played Dynasty Warriors 8 and Hyrule Warriors.
I have Dynasty Warriors 8. I haven't played it yet, though. And then I have Dynasty Warriors 5 and Dynasty Warriors 5 Extreme. Oh. Which I didn't know until I bought it first by accident. It's like, there's no story here. I thought there was a story to these games.
I've got Dynasty Warriors 8 Extreme Legends.
Yeah, Extreme Legends is the one of 5 I have too. Not just Extreme. I guess they're just like, it's kind of like bonus content.
They've just got some bonus content, some extra paths, extra characters.
You cannot beat this level. I've watched you die.
This level is really freaking hard. There's another offshoot that I want to say is more like a strategy thing. And
Romance of the Three Kingdoms.
No, not Romance of the Three Kingdoms. Like a Dynasty Warriors.
Smart there.
Yeah. No. I could be wrong on calling it.
Suikoden Tactics.
I could be wrong on calling it strategy. But it's like there's like more. I think there's more. I think there might be strategy elements. I forget what it's called. It's like it's not Extreme Extreme Legends is like the I guess the complete version or whatever.
Right.
Oh my gosh! Oh my gosh! Oh my gosh! I got inside! I got inside! I can do this! I can do this! I can do this! I got inside!
Okay.
I'm gonna stay inside! I got it! Oh, I had 5 seconds left.
We've completed the trifecta here. I started the stream off by saying 480p-ness in terms of 480p goodness, and you go, I got inside! I'm gonna stay inside! Coury takes a day off and we ruin this freaking stream.
See, this is where this game just kind of like becomes like way overcomplicated. It's like like the original Monkey Ball like got hard, but like there's like all these like weird gadgets and stuff in the level, and the first game was nice and simple, challenging but simple. But
so I did a search of the Googler, and I think the game you were thinking of might be called Dynasty Warriors God Seekers.
That doesn't sound familiar.
I'm looking at a screenshot of it. Looks like Shining Force.
Look.
So
I never heard of that. What's it for?
Looks like a high def thing.
If that. I mean, I was not aware of that. Oops.
Developed by Omega Force, published by Tecmo Koei, which I thought it was Koei Tecmo, is available for PS Vita and PS4. That's what GameCritics.com says about Dynasty Warriors Godseekers. So maybe it's a completely different thing.
I don't know. There's something. There's some other offshoot that I'm thinking of. Look up other games with the Dynasty Warriors 8 name.
Empires. Dynasty Warriors 8 Empires.
That might be what I'm thinking of. I heard it wasn't very good though. Though there might be some. There might be Empires games of other entries in the series that are good. And the funny thing about Dynasty Warriors is you've got like all these sequels, but it's still just like retelling. I mean, I can't say for sure because I've only really played 8, but it's still like retelling of the same story,
And what I understand, sort of, Dynasty Warriors 8 definitely looks like just a couple of these screenshots. It looks like it's got parts of Romance of the Three Kingdoms in it, which makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, it's the same characters and all that good stuff.
Which I used to love Romance of the Three Kingdoms on the NES because I am a nerd, and girls didn't talk to me for a long time. But I used to just like strategy games like that, like because they didn't work on my Mac like at home. Like, I get my game fixed, I play my Nintendo, and that was one of the great, not RTS games on it, but just I like sim games like Populous and all that kind of stuff. And Romance of the Three Kingdoms hit that kind of nerve for me. And I bought a bunch of copies of it lately too. Like I think I have 7 and 8 or 6 and 7. I have some of the later ones of PS2 recently, and apparently one of them is very expensive. Bolster's making fun of me because I have a Mac. It boots Windows, sort of.
Sometimes.
Well, yeah. For some reason, the other day I booted into it, and it said like, "Oh yeah, you got to reinstall Windows 10." I'm like, "What do you mean I got to reinstall Windows 10? Like that's absolutely nuts." And then I turned it on today because I wanted to play some Steam games that don't run on Mac, and it worked just fine. Like I just booted right up into Windows. And I realized like I had to update everything, like Skype, the creators update for Windows 10, all that crap. So that took forever. So then the stream started, and I booted back into the Mac because I don't have drivers for my audio hardware on Windows. Travis Smalley asks, does Duke have a YouTube channel? I do. It's the 8-Bit Duke. It's a very creative name. I know. There's 8-Bit everybody on YouTube, and I didn't know that 4 years ago.
But it's there are 8 bits of you.
There's more than 8. I hope. This is 128 right here. So. But yeah, so I try to be funny in situations like this, but I'd like to think that my show is a little bit more focused on kind of interesting aspects of games that not everybody talks about. So I talk about usually games. Well, you would probably know this, that not everybody else talks about.
Yeah, I mean,
when that NES RGB mod comes in, I'm reviewing Magician. You know it.
Yeah, you like some of those sort of weird, sort of like, oh, this is interesting, like maybe a little bit hard to get into, but
yeah, that's going to be the channel trailer now. The 8-Bit Duke, hard to get into.
Like Magician's a good example of that. It's like it's so interesting, but
I know because I think the last stream I did with you was the Analog NT one.
Yeah, and we played some Magician.
And you were like, "That's
Restaurant," which is not hard to get into.
3 frames of animation. Which, I mean, Magician is a beautiful looking game on the Nintendo, which I highly recommend playing if you can get it. Which we were both lucky this year. We actually did buy legitimate copies of Magician.
No,
I think you got
did
one.
Not.
You did not. You passed on it. Yeah, that's right.
I don't think it was as good a condition as the one you found.
Well, that's the thing. Mine has. I forget where I put it. It's probably on my shelf over there, which is where it would be. Mine has something in black Sharpie on it. I never got around to trying the pencil eraser thing because for some reason I've never bought a pencil eraser.
Sharpie is
right. Yeah,
dry
that's
erase.
it. Yeah, that's it.
Dry erase.
That was split. Yeah, I have a Sharpie. I should try that then.
No, not Sharpie. Dry erase. Like I'm talking like the kind that you can write on a whiteboard and wipe it off. Not the kind that you write on a whiteboard and you can't wipe it off.
I've made that mistake.
Haven't we all? No, but yeah, you just like draw over Sharpie on a game cartridge with a dry erase marker, and it like for some reason then you can like start to like you just like get some water or alcohol or whatever, and you can just like start to wipe it off.
I've got plenty of the alcohol for cleaning game cartridges because I'd spent like a whole day the other day just going through every single one after my my Super Nintendo came back from Lord Voltar over there. That was the first thing I did was clean every freaking Super Nintendo game I have, and it turns out because I dug up a bunch of my old childhood Super Nintendo games from a storage cart, and they were gunky. I mean, they were gross. It took a while, but I got them pretty good. I had to do that with a couple of Genesis games recently too. I bought that copy of Landstalker a couple months ago, and it was nothing that the rubbing alcohol couldn't fix. But unfortunately, I'm going to have to resolder the battery because the battery fell out. I opened that thing up to take a look at it, and sure enough, there pops out a little circle, and that was the freaking battery.
So is that a task that you have ever done before, or looking to learn to do so?
I have done it with a couple games before. I wouldn't say I did it very well though. I definitely have a long way to go with the soldering thing. I've done a couple things like with like hooking some stuff up for. I have an LED light that I've made that I soldered the LED lights together to a motor, but the motor had screw terminals in it, so I didn't have to solder that part of it. Because that would probably have been the part I screwed up. But I don't know if it's not a very clean job, I'm sure, but I'm not using it for much of anything. It was just kind of it was like a test. I bought a $25, $30 soldering kit to just learn.
Yeah, I like my main thing is I just like want to learn to replace batteries because I've got quite a few I want to replace at this point. So
I just need to buy the batteries. I mean, I think I can do it. I just need to actually get the replacements.
Yeah, need to head over to Lord Voltar sometime and learn the tricks of the trade.
Hopefully
on a very basic level.
Hopefully, if Coury ever gets a chance to have him look at that PVM, hopefully he might be able to figure out what the wavy lines are up to. I think Coury said he was able to significantly reduce it by adjusting the geometry, which is good. But it's one of those things that like it only happened on 480p. And it's weird. Like that one definitely had the better color than the one I kept, but it, there's issues with both. But yeah, there was that thing like that Saturday, like I guess 2 weeks ago or whatever. Coury's like, yeah, my brother's in town, all this stuff. I don't know if we're gonna be able to get out. Then he's like, can you meet me here? which was an hour away from his house and an hour away from mine. I was like, okay, I can do that. And then we had met in this parking lot at this outlet mall, and made the exchange. And he made it. Coury, bless his heart, he had this sack of games he bought at Goodwill that day, and he's like, you got to take one of these games. And he's because he texted me earlier. He's like, do you have Final Fantasy X on the PS2? And I'm like, yeah, I've got like 3 copies of that. He's like, okay, well, I found it at Goodwill. I walked out of there with Mortal Kombat Deception or something like that on PS2 because Coury's like, you have to take a game. I'm not taking your TV without you taking a game. So it was funny. It's just funny. And I like it. It's a good game. This bad baboon dude is just a trickster.
No, but he was telling the truth.
How do you know that he didn't arrange for that whale to be there and he's just trying to play the nice guy,
Could be.
Could
be.
He's got a little Pinocchio syndrome going on here, just wants to be eaten by a whale.
Oh boy, it's too
so
late now.
I forget though, is the Sailor Moon magic that they do at the beginning of each world why they're in a little freaking pachinko ball or whatever, or what?
That's a no.
But what's the Monkey Boy canon?
I think it's just the spirit of cooperation. For this non-cooperative game.
The spirit of cooperation traps you in a small plastic ball. Good to know. Have you ever said groan out loud when you meant to groan?
Well, I don't. I don't know if I meant to groan, but I've certainly said groan.
It's kind of like
out
saying
loud
LOL
intentionally. Out loud. Groan.
Yeah, she's saying, "Get me out of here!" Of the plastic ball or the whale.
We are starving. Gur gur eek. Let us cooperate. Yeah, woo. Magical spell is poo. They're already in the magical balls, though.
Yeah, well, they got to. It's it's a buff that you have to keep redoing before it runs out. Or else the Sailor Moon magic doesn't work anymore.
Oh man, like nearly doubled my play points. I can unlock a party game.
Ah, dude, the party game where you have to launch off the ramp and land on the certain thing for points, that was my favorite.
In the first game, right?
Yeah. My brother and I spent hours doing that.
I don't remember what the mini games are in this one. Let's see if I can unlock some. This is like 12 years later. Oh gosh, it's more than that. This is like, shoo. This is probably like almost 15 years later at this point.
We're old. We're freaking old.
Oh, there's 2 more to unlock. Monkey Dogfight and Monkey Soccer. Let's do Monkey Dogfight.
Monkey Dogfight.
Can I play this by myself? Oh, I can. Space Monkey Wars.
What game was it that you, in your mind, thinks look better than it probably does now? Like, for me, it's Pikmin. When I was a kid and I got my GameCube, I thought games could not look any better than Pikmin did because of the water. I thought the water looked really good.
Well, I mean, the textures...
Super Monkey Ball's water looks terrible.
The textures in Pikmin, look really good.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, I still think it holds up.
I thought the same thing when I played Pikmin 3 on the Wii U. I was like, man, the water. I just want to go for a swim. It just looks good.
You know what's weird, though, is that I feel like I don't really think that much anymore about, oh, this game, doesn't look like it holds up or something like that, you know? Like because I'm like so kind of immersed in retro anymore that it's kind of like I don't know, like I'm just like I have realistic expectations for what a game is going to look like, you know?
Right.
So, I mean, you know, certainly it can be like, oh, you know, this doesn't look as good as I think it should. You know what? When I got Uncharted Lost Legacy, I had no idea I was getting this, but Amazon gave me as a pre-order bonus a PS4 download code for the first Jak and Daxter, which is a fantastic game.
Right.
But, you know, I'm not very impressed with how the PS2 emulation looks on PS4. And
I'm kind of in the same mindset because I just got Wild Arms 3 a couple months ago, and like looking at it even through the FrameMeister, like the PS4, like oh yeah, that's all right.
Yeah, like and Jak and Daxter is kind of a weird situation too because that got like a proper HD port.
Right.
But yeah, I was like maybe it was just because I was looking at it in HD and it wasn't really meant to be HD, you know?
Right.
But, I was like looking at the characters and the cutscenes, like they're as good looking as I remembered for sure.
One of the PS4 download games that I think does hold up a little bit better on PS4 from PS2 is Arc the Lad: Twilight of Darkness.
Oh yeah.
Which I love that game. That was the first Arc the Lad game I ever played.
Yeah,
That's
Coury
one of my favorite games
game too. Even though it's a little controversial, I guess.
It's a little. I mean, it's. I did not know Arc the Lad was part of a series when I first played that. My first experience with the PS2, I think, was with Arc the Lad because I know that was the game that Sam's Club had on the demos that you could see in the store. Was Arc the Lad 2. But it's got cel shading in it, but it also has more like normal textures, quote unquote. Mm-hmm. So I think it just kind of looks a little bit better when you HDify it.
I like the cel shading textures in Wild Arms 3.
Yeah, I think they. I think they
also
look
kind of has like almost like I want to say it has sort of like a canvas sort of texture over the whole image.
I believe it does. It's a Western without being a Western.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what game I have been playing lately that I like, but I wish was different. Shadow Hearts. I never played any of those games before. I got the first one recently. I hate the way the text boxes work because it looks like somebody has an auto box script running in After Effects, and they didn't animate it, so it just puts a box where every character is as the text comes in. And I'm like, it looks like a demo. It looks unfinished. But oh man, that game is creepy and it's weird and the story's crazy. Like you play a total asshole in that game. But I really like it. I like the battle system in it, like turning into a monster, I guess. So I'm looking forward to finishing it and looking up some of the other ones later.
Yeah, I
didn't realize it was so early. It was like a 2001 game or something like that.
Yeah, and I want to say they might be a little bit expensive now. I'm not real sure. But,
I think I paid $25 or $30 for it.
Is the second one? The second one might be a little more expensive. I forget exactly.
I can that.
But yeah, it's hey, got some cat cam action here.
Ring a Bell finally decided to join us again.
But yeah.
So we started this off playing Mega Man Battle Network Transmission or whatever, and ended with Super Monkey Ball
2. Yeah, which I guess
I told you were. I told you I didn't think you would like it.
Yeah, man, I just don't know. I don't know if this was not the right environment to play that game in.
You got 3 game overs on the first boss. I think that you because you're a professional.
2 game overs. I don't quit after the first game over. That's not my style.
You quit after the second one though, because if at first you don't succeed, give up while you're ahead.
Well,
That's what
I I feel like bosses could become very over reliant on some just getting a good selection of items, and that just seems unlikely and
right. Yeah, you walk into that boss fight.
Yeah.
You don't know the boss fight's coming up. You walk in there with 5 recovers and your Mega Buster, and you just aren't going to do anything. I mean, that's the flawed mechanic of it.
Yeah,
unfortunately.
but at the same time, I do like the idea of just like kind of working with what you're given, But I don't know if it works in a platformer game, but it works in games like Baten Kaitos, Lost Kingdoms.
I think with those games though, you have other options.
Yeah, and you're
it's very unlikely
more,
you're going to get in Basic Kaitos a bunch of change cards or whatever, which still
more,
do damage. But
you're building more to build your options in those games.
Yeah, in Lost Kingdom, you can at least move freely around the map and like dodge things and dump cards you don't need and automatically get a new one.
I really need to play through Lost Kingdoms.
You were getting something out of your shelf, so you missed my full rant on it. But it is a underrated series on the GameCube.
Yeah, I mean, I played like the first maybe 2 hours of it, and I thought it seemed really good.
And that's just the surface of it too. Yeah. I mean, it can get it. The story of the first one's a little ish, but it's the mechanics of it are really good. But Lost Kingdom 2, they really took all of that to the next level. Like in the first one, if you get into a battle, you transition to a new battle area, yada yada. In the second one, it's all seamless. So everything happens, like you walk around the map, you do everything, you can throw the cards wherever you want, you don't have to be in a battle. That's awesome. The second one is significantly more streamlined. And it has a better story. Your character's a lot more interesting because the concept of this rune stone that allows you to use these cards, they're like mass produced now and all this stuff. So the idea is like, oh, you have a crappy one. Turns out you don't, or something like that. And your character's not coming from as a princess of a kingdom already at the beginning of the game. So there's a little bit more like world building that goes on in the second game that the first one desperately needed. Doesn't
the second game have like a really goofy name for the main character? I forget.
I forget. I'm gonna have to check that now. She does. They do have weird names. Now it's bothering me what her name was. Katia of Arguil was the first game's character,
okay.
And the second game, which is the Lost Kingdoms 2, is the better game. The character's name is Terra Grimface.
That was it.
I knew it was like something simple like Terra, but I forgot how I forgot it was Grimface.
Grimface, Terra Grimface. That's great.
It's like I want to be Golden Axe kind of names. Like you've got like Darius Thundersmack or whatever the dwarf dude's name is in Golden Axe. Which it was funny that Coury, I was thinking of another friend of mine. He was also talking to me about Golden Axe recently. Coury did the Sega Ages thing the other day. It talked about Golden Axe because Sega Forever, which is something I want to talk about on mobility, just made Golden Axe a free-to-play Sega game on iPhone and Android. Golden Axe does not work on a touchscreen, and it never should, never would. And it's bad unless you play it with a Bluetooth controller. But it's like, I got to make a video on Sega Forever now, especially Golden Axe. And then Coury has a video about Golden Axe. Like, great minds think alike.
But yeah, you should do a video on Lost Kingdom sometime. But don't
it's in the pipeline.
Do it until I get Lost Kingdoms 2, because I think that's going up in price. I mean, that's like I want to say $40 to $50 now.
I paid $40 for mine.
Yeah.
And it didn't have the manual.
It did not?
It did not. I probably got, I'm pretty sure I got ripped off, but it was there. I could touch it. I could feel it. I could see it.
Yeah, this is how it is, you know?
And I was like, oh man, if I walk out of this door, this game won't be here anymore. I'll never see another copy of this again. Like a fool. So I put my money down and did it. And it can get up there. I've seen it as high as 70 at cons before, which I think is too much.
You see it from time to time, but...
Yeah, GameCube stuff is really hard to find, I think, organically. At least around here in Ohio, like stores will have like the same 5 GameCube games, and one of them is always Gun. I don't know why. Like the other day, I was even the flea market I went to today had Gun on PS2.
Is that a Ubisoft game?
I couldn't tell you. Never played it. I just see it every
Yeah. There's a lot of, I considered GameCube my main system during that generation.
I was a PS2 and GameCube guy. I loved my RPGs, and the GameCube only had a handful.
Yeah.
So the PS2 was definitely the good place. And plus, I could play all of my PS1 games on it.
Well, I mean, that was the main reason I had a PS2 was because of RPGs. But there were, back in the day of the PS1 generation, my use of the system was much more shoehorned. Strictly RPGs. I branched out a little bit. It was mostly just an RPG machine for me. PS2 was initially much more. I was much more open to other things on PS2, but it was still primarily like I gotta have this for the RPGs. And like I played overall. It feels weird now because like I realized like earlier this year, like, oh crap, I own more PS2 games than GameCube games now, and it feels kind of dirty because like
try sitting there like I can rub it, I'll never be clean.
And yeah, it's not right because like GameCube was always like my main system that generation. And I did have more. I had more GameCube games than PS2 games, which I'm sure is a very unusual, an unusual situation having more GameCube games than PS2 games. But I did.
Yeah, I had more PS2 games than GameCube games, but I had what in my mind the good GameCube games, and I've held on to most of those. I've gotten rid of most of the PS2 games I had as a kid. GameCube, fortunately, did not suffer the same fate of I needed money in college. So I'm still thankful I didn't get rid of all my PS1 games. Like you ain't ripping Lunar out of my dead hands. I mean, you're burying me with that.
But yeah, I mean, I don't know. I was going somewhere with all that, but you just kind of lost it. GameCube.
You got to have more GameCube than your PS2
but
in the backlog.
But it ain't true. It ain't so no more. It ain't so. But
it's kind of. I mean, it makes sense that there was a lot more shovelware and other. I mean, there was a mass amount of titles for the PS2. I mean, especially with RPGs. Yeah. I mean, like I bought like 9 the other day, and I've played one of them. 9 of them, all 9. I don't know how to pronounce, but they were cool and they were cheap, and it's like, oh yeah, this looks like fun.
But I mean, like you say, there's a lot of these just really random who cares GameCube games that you see, and I think a lot of people forget that the GameCube, it did actually kind of have a lot more games that I think than people give it credit for having had.
And I think the reason for that is because you go to these stores, you don't see very many on the shelves. It's because people hold on to their GameCube games because Nintendo stuff I think seems to hold a higher value.
It does.
Not just financially, but also nostalgically. You brothers give them to their younger siblings, or dads buy them for their kids for cheap because they know they're into Mario. I mean, I was at a store the other day, just poking around, and some kid was playing the kiosk unit of Super Mario 64, like I did in 1995 or 6 or whatever. Like it was insane. Like it's charming to see that, and it's like what? There's hope for humanity yet. These children still love Mario. The world will not end yet.
All right. Well, is that about wrap it up?
It's your stream, man. I just come here to crash. Thank you. I mean, it's always a pleasure to fill in and or be a guest and everything. I really appreciate it. This has been a lot of fun.
Next time, maybe I'll think ahead and play like a game that you really like Lost Kingdoms.
All right, we could do that. We could talk all day about some crazy obscure GameCube games again. Or we could try Magician again, even though that didn't go so well last time, because I was trying to remember how to play it and then tell you how to play it at the same time.
A stream feels like the wrong environment to learn that game, but it could be a lot of fun too.
If you're looking for a headache but a good time, play Magician on the NES.
All right, good night, everyone. Thanks for watching.
Right. See you guys.